I don't think I'm going to like this, am I? But if a man did stand up and say, I'm going with my wife and family, I take care of them. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
It just touches my own reality.
This is actually a requested video for us to go over,
Lovely.
but it is a lengthy one, so it will be a multi-parter, I imagine. Now, I've broached this topic before, but we've not delved into it entirely yet, which is the red pill. Now, this is something, again, we've gone into. This is actually a documentary. So this is not just some random people making it. This is like a pretty well-made documentary, and that's why it's going to be a multi-part episode. I shouldn't say it's a well-made documentary, but you can see the like ratio here: 30,000 likes to 500 dislikes. So I watched it a few years back. I completely forgot I watched it, and I enjoyed it. And maybe you can enjoy some of it too.
And I'm sure I'll be enlightened.
Enlightened, yeah. All right, let's get into it.
There's a reason that women live longer, Mark. Let me tell you. It is because we are stronger and we are happier at the end of the day than most men. And that is factual, and you know it.
And when men are married to women who scream like you, they just want to die sooner.
I'm not sorry.
When you have women...
How rude.
A Voice for Men, an online hub for men's rights activists, and they were founded by a man named Paul Elam.
It's a website called A Voice for Men that's run by a man named Paul Elam, which is male spelled backwards, but it is his real name, apparently.
It's a gathering of women haters.
The Southern Poverty Law Center has classified that group and men's rights groups as hate groups.
He wrote a piece declaring the month of October to be Bash a Violent Bitch Month.
Oh.
I mean, literally to grab them by the hair and smack their face against the wall, he wrote.
I don't think I'm going to like this, am I?
Don't judge a book by its cover.
So, I decided to meet these MRAs. The ones leading the movement, and some of their followers too. And this begins my journey down the rabbit hole.
So before we dive into this, we're 7.5 minutes into this. We've barely scratched the surface. What are your opinions so far on where we're headed with this? About the narrator, about the direction, about what you're feeling about men's rights?
Well, the headlines that we saw were horrifying. You know, when is it okay to slap your wife or, you know, grab your wife and hurt her? That bothers me. So I'm a bit leery that it's gonna be, but like she said, it's a rabbit hole. But I don't understand. Everybody has rights, so I guess I'm a little confused. So let me learn more.
Cool.
The idea is that men have all the rights, they've always had the power. But if that's true, why can't men talk about their problems? And that's what really got me interested in this to begin with.
What are your thoughts here?
I sort of feel that you need to do things to make your life. So what does a man not get that a woman gets? I mean, there's probably more scholarships out there for men than there are women in colleges and universities. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I think I could be wrong, but I don't know. It's definitely something I would look into, but I mean, it's just, I guess I don't understand. I still don't understand. I just don't understand why it's such a big deal.
So if one gender is suffering in nearly every way in life more than the other, how is that not an issue?
Because life is what you make it. If you're suffering, then you need to speak up, and you get the help that you need. No?
In an ideal world, if everybody was treated equally, yes.
And that's always been why I've been drawn to the feminist movement, is because a lot of what they spoke about I had personal experiences with, and with the men's movement I have very little personal experience.
Maybe
with
that's
the
it.
issues that they
Makes
talk
sense.
about.
Because how could you guys relate?
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Does it concern you?
I worry about my safety pretty much every day at work.
I do as well.
But I would not be an iron worker. I would not change a light bulb on a 100-story building. I mean, I would not choose to do those jobs.
Sure.
And I guess men do fall in that category where they do take those jobs. So I guess it doesn't surprise me, but everybody is in jeopardy every day.
Sure.
One way or another.
Right. No, but it's funny you mentioned that, because you just explained one of the biggest reasons for the gender pay gap is men oftentimes being the ones that are voluntarily choosing these high risk, high reward jobs that, have high fatality rates, where they are much more likely to get killed on the job. So, yeah,
yes.
it's
And
funny.
it is something now that is changing somewhat. There are more female police officers, more female firefighters. But yes, I don't think I've ever seen a woman washing windows on a high rise. But there could be.
Right.
See, feminism did see accurately that we value male work more than we value female work. But there's also the issue that we value female life more than we value male life.
What do you think about that sentiment? We value female life more than we value male life.
Well, I think it goes right back to the fact that women produce children, produce heirs. I mean, but again, I can throw out there you couldn't do without a man and sperm. So, but they're the ones that are going to carry that child. So, and the ratio of men in war and women in war, I mean, women had to fight to go to war. Women had to fight to be in the military. So I'm sure these statistics will change as time goes on, but I do, again, it's right back to that plus 90% of death rate. People doing their jobs, men doing their jobs versus women and dying. So it's kind of sad.
A feminist group protested the event.
Be fucking ashamed of yourself. You're fucking scum. You are fucking scum. Fucking rape apologist, incest supporting, woman hating, fucking scum.
Is there someone else I can wait to see my phone?
Fucking scum. Yeah, just another.
I just want to listen to someone else's opinion. I'm not even on a side here. I just listen to as many people as I can.
You know what, though? Why would you pay money to fucking support a fucking rape apologist if you weren't fucking one?
I'm never going to say anything that was...
Well, it's fucking scum.
Who do you serve? Who do you protect? Who do you serve? Who do you serve?
You're fucking scum. Fuck you.
Raise your side of me. All cops are bastard. ACAB.
Real fucking
This is what men's rights look like. 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 This is what men's rights look like.
Is this irony at its finest? When it's an angry mob screaming, this is what their rights look like, when they're the one that's being belligerent and screaming and angry
and
they're
cussing cops out,
and they have the right to do that. So it's so ironic that they're saying they have all these rights. This is what their rights look like, all while they have all the rights to do all of this.
But I don't think these men are saying it's okay if I beat my wife. It's okay if I rape a woman. I don't think that's what they're talking about, and I don't think that's what they believe. So like that dude just said, let me just go listen. Let me understand. Maybe if she calmed down and listened, maybe she would understand more. So, yeah, I mean, I don't understand riots and violence, but I guess in some cases that's the only way to get your point across, though I don't think it's right. I've never been in a protest. Not that I haven't thought about it, or not that I haven't agreed that somebody needs to protest. I am just like the least violent person you'd ever want to meet, so I'd rather just stay out of it and let other people fight my battles, I guess.
Sure.
You talk a lot about the red pill in A Voice for Men. What is the red pill?
Oh, it's sort of a cultural slogan. It comes from the movie The Matrix, where the character Neo is given the choice between a red pill and a blue pill.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And if he swallows the red pill, the scales will be peeled back from his eyes. He will see everything that he hasn't been able to see. And if he takes the blue pill, he'll just go back to sleep and live in his sort of unaware, semi-comatose state forever and probably be a lot happier. It's a pretty apt analogy.
So what is the blue pill in this world?
Well, the blue pill is the paradigm that most people live by, that men have all the power, that they've always had all the power, that domestic violence is a problem that's committed by men against women only, that sexual assaults are only committed by men against women, that women don't make the same money for the same work as men. Teach men not to rape. Only men can stop rape. Men commit domestic violence. We need to stop violence against women instead of just stopping violence. That is feminist training.
Even Biden just made a comment about that in his State of the Union, how we need to stop the violence against women, and not stop the violence. Like,
exactly. Yeah, stop violence. Period.
And I've believed for so long that I'm at a disadvantage for being a woman, and that I have to work harder than everyone else, and I have more to overcome, and I have more to prove just because of my gender. But the MRAs are saying that this is all a lie, and that guys are actually the ones that are disadvantaged and discriminated against. And actually, the more I learn from him, the more I think, thank God I wasn't born a guy. Because I don't think that the expectations on men is good or healthy. I mean, they have so much pressure to succeed and to be strong and to stand up and protect others and to put their lives on the line. I don't think I would want that responsibility. But, 50 years ago, no, I wouldn't have wanted to be a woman. But now, I mean, maybe just it's right now that the tides are changing and women have the better deal. Well, no, I don't know.
Yep, she's like me.
I was just about to ask, how much are you relating to what she's saying here?
Yeah, it is confusing. It is a state of confusion. I mean, as far as I don't women and children first, off the ship. But I think most men would, there's not going to I don't think there would be men that would stand up and say, no, I'm going, because of society and the way the world has gone, the way it has always been. But if a man did stand up and say, I'm going with my wife and family, I take care of them. It's my responsibility. If I don't go, how are they going to survive? So I see, but I don't understand how it can be changed with violence and all of this protesting and stuff. But I mean,
Sure.
these protests and stuff look like they were years ago. Are
All
they
of these are years
currently?
ago,
Yeah, are they currently happening?
Well, the thing about it is, ironically enough, Mom, a lot of these issues are massively exacerbated and exaggerated in the modern society. Things have only gotten worse.
Right, because of media and because of the internet and because of open platforms that are out there. So, yeah, I mean, it's always been that way, I'm sure. When I was young, my mom didn't work. My dad worked. My dad went to work every day. He worked in the steel mill, and he worked hard, and my mom was able to stay home. And that doesn't happen often, but it is because we can't afford that. We can't afford double income to raise a family now. There are so many things in society, in reality, that need to change in order for people to live better, but it's not going to happen. You know, it's you live your life the way you can live your life. You don't overlive it.
Right. Obviously, we're different, sexes, we're different genders, so we can't feel what it's like to be in the opposite shoes. But I will say, in general, there is a strong feeling, at least for me anyway, and it seems most guys are this way, where a strong desire to provide and protect, like these feelings are innate within most men, it seems.
Right.
And it's not even just necessarily their loved ones. It's, if somebody innocent is in danger, I feel often, a strong sense of desire to protect them. It's just innate within a lot of us. And it's also wild because we're also, it's been alluded to a couple of times, but men are arguably the disposable gender.
Yes, you could say that. Very, very much so, from the very get-go.
Right. And that's the thing is, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just is what it is. And I think most people accept that. I think a lot of guys accept that. But that's really hard for a lot of men to understand. And in such a materialistic world that's just glorifying it beyond, to the nth degree, and having success or status or wealth makes you a person, makes you of value in today's society. If a man doesn't work his butt off and get lucky, then he is essentially nothing. He is nothing but a disposable person. At least a woman, let's be real here, most women can get the attention of even a low quality guy. Men on the lower side of the attractive scale and, no status, no wealth, they're not going to get any attention at all.
I think that goes both ways, though, too.
What do you mean?
I mean, a woman that's not attractive and, not college educated or educated at all, for that matter, I mean, she's stuck in that box, too.
What box is that?
That box of being alone.
I see. To me, it feels like that's not the case, because I feel like any woman, maybe it won't be a Chad or Tyrone or a top 10% guy, but any woman, as long as she has something that a guy wants, you know what I mean, she can get the attention of a guy.
I disagree.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I've been single for a long time.
But is that for lack of trying or for choice?
Both, probably. Both. But I mean, there were times that I got so depressed because I'm like, I'm unlovable. Nobody's going to love me. I'm not pretty. I'm overweight. And it gets depressing and it gets lonely. So, I mean, I've been there too.
Sure.
I mean, I don't seem to need anybody in my life. I've been fine for close to 30 years.
Right.
But I'm not saying I want to be alone forever. I mean, time may run out with me, and I may be alone forever. But I think it works both ways. I think that any man can pick up any woman. I don't mean that any woman. I think if you want to have relations with a person, no matter who you are, you have that potential. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, I could have went out and had relations, but that's...
Well, this is what I was going to say is what you're referring to is different than what I'm referring to. Because a woman can go out and get sexual attention with a snap of a finger. Nearly any woman can. The problem that women have is maintaining that man and getting out of the sex zone, the sweeper zone, whatever they call it. That's the issue with women. But men can't even get that oftentimes. And that's what men want, obviously. But men struggle to eat. They get ew. Or nothing at all.
I think it probably happens in a man's world more than a woman's world. But I still can relate to that myself as a woman.
I think if you got on a dating app, you would understand what I mean.
I said, take me there.
Because you can literally be they've done like little experiments of it, literally just a floor, and you can get hundreds of matches, like nothing, like literally nothing. Because men are just so thirsty, so desperate for any sort of attention, affection. And women seem to want, because of the access to social media and dating, they get access to only the top guys for the most part. They can get attention from the top guys. Does that make sense? Like 50 years ago, before social media and the internet, she had access to 20 guys growing up. You know, Billy Bob Joe and, you know, XYZ down the neighbor. I'm going to pick Ted over there. Ted, out of the 20 people that I grew up with in high school, he was the best there. But now there's a million different Teds that are way better than Ted, and all of them are trying to reach out to this person. Yeah. So then in her mind, she's thinking, well, I'm only going to go for the top then if I can have my choice. So
I just can't relate.
I know. And I'm just trying to explain to you what the dating world is like for men in these days with the introduction of, you know, particularly the internet and dating apps. But we'll keep going here. I do appreciate that she's doing a little video diary to track her progress. She does seem to be pretty genuine in what she's thinking as well.
Right. And there's a lot of things that she has said, and I had either said myself or agreed totally with her. So it is a very interesting, I like the side video diary part a lot.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I think the MRAs are just duping me and giving such a strong pitch about what they believe in to convince me of something that's actually just some out there theory that men are discriminated against and women have the advantage.
Yes, this is Cassie J. It's regarding a documentary about the men's rights movement, and we're looking for feminist voices now to speak in the documentary.
Get some opposing viewpoints here.
Right. I think she's went from New York, it looks like, to California now.
Big travel.
Some of them feel threatened that they now have to compete with a lot more people for their jobs. They now can't get into the best schools if a woman or a girl has better grades. Think about it. Grandfather's generation probably had it pretty well, right? All of his needs, his shirts were ironed, all of that was always taken care of. Well, you know, grow up. Realize the world has changed. And as much as the MRAs would like things to go back to the way they were, and use the argument that women have an advantage now. No person looking at the data can possibly say women have an advantage. We're just beginning to get an even a level playing field here.
She said men feel threatened. Like this is a backlash and men feel threatened. That's why this has come about.
And she also was saying, I believe, that they just want it to go back to the woman's barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. That's what she's saying. And now that women are out there and gaining what ground? I just, you work hard and you get what you work for. And you should never have a disadvantage. But there's disadvantages of every place and every job. I agree with a lot of what they say on both sides. But I disagree in some of it.
So do you think that men are being discriminated against in any way?
Not under the law. Men are not disadvantaged under our laws. Or in the business world, as a class, men are not underrepresented on corporate boards or at the top of the Fortune 1000 companies.
In the corporate world, in the business world, in a lot of parts of academia, in the military, in the sports world, still pretty much a male-dominated world, and where a lot of the privileges and power and status accrue to men.
Men are advantaged over women, no question. No one can debate that. Not with a serious, not in any seriousness.
One extreme to another.
It's wild, huh? It's wild.
If women are so different from men that men can't understand the female experience, we need to listen to women to describe it, then the male experience is so different from the female experience that you can't understand it. You need to listen to us. You can't really compare how men and women have suffered from sexism, because there's no way to quantify, that kind of suffering. So if a woman says, well, I miss 30% of my income,
that's a boom. And I think that's what I'm here doing is kind of alerting you slowly how we feel as men and how almost inescapable and powerless we can feel in society. And you can see, yes, she's a bit of a, those two feminists were both pretty extreme, but she legit thinks that men are advantaged in society, and the other side is arguing that they're a disposable gender. How can there be such a vast distance in the opinions of men? How is that possible?
It is kind of odd. It is. But I mean, they both believe what they're saying.
It seems that way.
I mean, there's no question whatsoever. Again, it's really crazy because they both got valid points.
Right. I mean, as far as women not having an advantage, I feel like in the court systems, women have a pretty significant advantage in most systems, especially family court. Would you agree?
I would agree, but it is changing. I do think, I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, when a couple got divorced, I mean, before that, it was always the women would get the children. The moms would get the children because everybody thought moms would be the better parent. Up in through the 60s and 70s, I believe that was the thought. But I do know in the 70s and the early 80s, it kind of changed to who's ever the best parent. I mean, it used to be that the women would come in and bash the men and say, he did this and he did that, and
Right.
I'm the best parent. But I think now, logically speaking, if you go into it and say your positive attributes to being the best fit for the child, not bashing dad, but just saying, this is why I would be the better parent. for your positive things.
Right.
So it has changed. And again, I think if you looked at, if you asked 100 men if they wanted to keep their children full time or let them go to your mom and let mom take them, and I'll take them every other weekend or once a night a week, I still think the men, but men are getting up there. There's a lot of stay-at-home dads, don't get me wrong, but I think the men would rather have the part-time role. I would like to question 100 men. So, hey, shoot me up an answer to that question. If you were a father and you're going to get a divorce, would you prefer to be the full-time parent?
Yeah, let us know. I'd be curious of that as well. So I think there's no doubt that once upon a time women were severely disadvantaged in most, areas of I don't even want to say most areas, but they didn't have rights that men had at certain points in time. And the feminism movement originally had great intentions and made great improvements and made, right calls. But the thing is, those institutions that prop women up never went away. They just kept propping and kept propping and kept propping. And now we're at a point where men and women are at equal points. And in fact, if you look at a lot of statistics, women are kicking ass.
And taking names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just going back, women couldn't vote. Women couldn't go into bars. Women could not do a lot of things. So yes, in that sense, a lot has changed. And I think there's a little bit more equal footing. Do you not? I mean,
I think it's more equal now than it was back then, but it's also, the question is this equal a good thing? Because I think you can look at a lot of statistics around this, but the more opportunity a woman has and the more education a woman has, the less happy and the less fulfillment she gets out of her relationship and in life.
I couldn't swear one way or another. I find that hard to believe, though. If a woman goes to a top college or university and gets a degree and has a high place in a company, you're saying that she's probably not happy?
I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying, in countries where women are, or I should say the genders are equalized more and women have more opportunity, the statistics are showing that relationships decline parallel or equal to women getting better results. Does that make sense? The better women off are, the worse relationships are in general.
Yeah, I couldn't.
There's a direct correlation, apparently.
And I believe that to a degree, but it's just. I mean, so many people are different. The way they were brought up, the way they were raised, where they were raised. I mean, if you had a strong, hard-working father, then that would be distilled in you. If you had a strong, hard-working mother, you would have that to instill in your life and believe in your life that, you want this strong woman. You don't, I think it just might be balanced, that they both have, women's rights, men's rights. They have equal opportunity to a degree, and then they don't to a degree. So, and I think it's, yes, just been totally out there, just having so much access and platforms to talk on.
Right.
So.
A woman says, well, I miss 30% of my income. More than you miss 6 years of life. There's no way to quantify that. or I've lost a job opportunity because I'm a woman. There's no way to say, well, I've suffered more than you because you've lost a kid because you're a man. You know, we can't, but it's it is serious. And at least if you're denied a job because you're a woman, at least you can go to another company and apply for a job, you know. But you can't, when you lose your kid, like you can't say, well, okay, I'll get custody of that kid, you know, I'll try for that one. It's a terrible thing that happens. There was a case, the Serpico case. You might be too young to know the movie Serpico with Al Pacino. It was about a New York City undercover cop. He gets shot at the end of the movie and retires from the police force. And he was a real man, Frank Serpico. A woman after the movie, after this was made, decided she wanted to become a single mother and tricked him into fathering a child. And the court accepted that because she told her friends she was going to trick him, and they testified, and the court said, yes, you were tricked into it, and still awarded her over 90% of his police pension. So everything that he goes through in this movie to you know, including getting shot to earn his pension, she won by sleeping with him one night. My son's mom wanted to have children with me, and I had always refused, you know, saying, you have this anger problem, you need to get counseling, I'm not going to consider having children with you until that's dealt with, because she would lose her temper almost every day and just use any weapon she could, and like a child's the perfect weapon. So I was really definite about that.
Smart man.
But she also used to proofread my articles for me. And I wrote an article for Playboy about Serpico. And when she read that, she told her friend she's going to trick me into fathering the child. She doesn't need my permission. And so that's how my son was conceived. Then she said, if you want to see your son, you have to stay in a relationship with me. But if you break up with me, I know all the things that a woman can do to a man. You know, she's read all my articles, she saw my talk shows. She said, I know all the things a woman can do to a man, and I'll do them to you. So that's what I had to deal with. Like everything that I had been raising awareness about for the previous 17 years, then she combined into one thing for me to live through. It's really ironic. For the first 5 to 7 years, I guess, we would see each other 4 times a day for exchanges. On average, every single day, I had to deal with some scene. A scene meaning she would just not show up, you know, or she would hold the kid out and then pull him back and hold him out and pull him and just kind of play with me, or she'd let me have the kid and then she'd stand in front of the car so I couldn't move. You stay in Mommy Town tomorrow. You stay in Mommy Town for a couple of days. 2 days, and then you come back to Daddyville. Another time, I saw her hold him by the shoulders and say, Daddy is a bad man. Daddy is a very bad man. And so I had to go through this long custody battle, and the decisions that they would make, you would just go, wow. There couldn't be any explanation. You know, either they're absolute idiots or it's biased. There's just no other explanation for it. One of the things, his mom is obese and wanted him to be obese for various reasons. One thing is so he would identify more with her side of the family than mine, because we're all thin. Another was so that he would enjoy being with her more, because when he was at my house, he had to get activity, you know, and eat well-balanced meals and get his sleep and stuff. And at her house, they would bake brownies and stay up late and just watch TV. And so where would you, if you're a little kid, you know, where would you enjoy being more? But he self-reported to the mediator how upset he was about being obese, that the worst thing in school was when kids called him fatty, and how he cried. And his physician said that he's really concerned medically. And then what I did, he was at an age where he would imitate things that I would do. You know, I gave him a broken shaver, so when I shaved, he would pretend to shave. And what I did was I started weighing myself every morning and writing down my weight, the date and the weight. And I taught him how to read a scale. So he kept his own records. So I had 6 months worth of statistics to show consistently that every time he was with his mom for a few days, he'd come back weighing 3 or 4 pounds more, and then he'd lose it while he was with me. So they had you know, that how much he was upset about the problem. They had his physician being upset about the problem, and they had the proof of where the problem lay. So the judge's decision was that father should no longer be allowed to weigh the child. Problem solved.
He should no longer be able to weigh the child?
Yeah, that's how
that
they
was
solved.
oh, that's crazy.
After 14 years, my body gave out. I got sicker than I've ever been. I realized I'm going to die. That's not going to do anybody good. I've got to give up the fight. So I gave up custody. And so I don't see my son anymore. He hasn't been in my house since. So I did lose him.
Just like a dream.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
It just touches my own reality. And this poor man. What a mean, horrible woman. Sorry.
You're okay. Do you need a sec?
Colby needed to file paternity action, an affidavit, and a commencement notice with Utah's Vital Records a day before the mother signed the adoption papers relinquishing her rights. But in Colby's case, the mother only gave him a few hours' notice of what she was going to do.
I would like her back. Men in the men's movement are not upset about having to be fathers. They're upset because they're not allowed to be fathers.
That guy blows his head out, blows his brains out. It's a family court. And people don't think there's something wrong with that? And we just open the doors tomorrow for business as usual, and that's okay.
Imagine that for a moment, though. Imagine you're a parent, your mom, and someone tries to say you can't be a parent to your kids. It's unimaginable, right?
Yes.
You can't extract it from a woman because it's her kids. But it's so common for a man not to get access to his children. Gosh.
It's horribly sad. It breaks my heart. It really does.
So if you're going to be having sex that could result in pregnancy, and you haven't had this conversation with the woman that you're having sex with, you better have it. You better have it fast. That's when the man has the ability to make decisions, either not to engage in sex or to use condoms and to use other forms of contraception. So that's where his role comes in. Once he's impregnated her, she's the one now faced with continuing a pregnancy, faced with the health risks that accompany pregnancy. So his rights have to be exercised early. But once she's pregnant, all decisions must be hers, because ultimately she is the most impacted. There's just no question. And she ultimately has the responsibility for that child.
I agree with her.
Yeah, it's true. It is very true.
I agree with her completely. I think it is the woman's body. She should be the ultimate choice because she is the one that has to, I should say suffer through the experience of delivering a child, the whole 9 months. It should be her choice. But it should be the man's choice whether or not he's responsible financially or otherwise as well.
Again, that should be something that's discussed before you have sex.
Right.
I agree with that, too.
Agreed. But where do you draw the line there?
Well, if you don't like what the woman says, oh, I don't want to have a kid. If I get pregnant, I'm having an abortion. There's no questions asked. And if you, being the man, you want a child and you couldn't, then you don't want to have sex with this woman because there is that possibility that she would end up aborting your child.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. But what if it's the opposite where she says, no, I don't want a kid. And he says, oh, great. Okay, I just want a quick hookup. Oh, and then she gets pregnant. And then her tune changes.
Depending on how much money he makes?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, how is that fair for the guy at that point? If it's already been discussed ahead of time, and she just changed her mind. Like let's give her the benefit of the doubt and say she genuinely did change her mind. When they had sex, she didn't have any desire to have kids. Now she's pregnant. Oh my gosh, hormones running through her body. I want a kid.
Yeah, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have this child.
Sure.
But what is the man? I mean, the man still has a choice. He can either walk or not walk.
Right. But I'm talking solely about financially.
I mean, he will be financially if she requests that of him.
Right, but I still don't understand why she solely gets that choice of whether or not he is financially responsible. They both had the choice to have sex. They both should have the choice of having the child in a perfect world. They both conceived it. They both should have the choice, but they don't have the choice. She has the choice. Good. Here's your choice. If you want the child, have the child. If I don't want the child, I don't want to pay for it, and I shouldn't have to. That is her. She, like this lady, she says it's the man's responsibility to have all of this out before
Questions,
sex.
yeah.
There's no accountability for the woman at that point. That's not fair. That's painting her as some victim that has no choice in the matter, and he manipulated her and took advantage of her. Like, there's no accountability in that point of view. Would you agree?
Yes and no.
Okay, so here's another thing. Who is the one that decides who has sex? Between a man and a woman.
It should be equal.
Sure, but a man, if he's dating a woman, is going to want to have sex. Who decides if they have sex?
Well, men always want sex.
Men
right?
always want sex, yes. So, in essence, who decides? Who decides if the guy is getting lucky or sitting in the doghouse that night?
I don't say sitting in the doghouse.
That's an expression.
I know, but I'm saying, I mean, I've been in relationships where it's not right. I'm not ready. So yes, it's a woman's call.
As it should be.
I guess
she's the gatekeeper to sex. Yes, that's accurate. Yes,
that's what you wanted me to say.
Well, that's that. I'm illustrating this so it all makes sense to you.
Okay.
So the woman is the gatekeeper of sex. So who really is the one that's deciding about this beforehand? If she is the one that's deciding who is having sex, why is she the only one that makes the decision? There was no discussion in that.
But it should be discussed.
Right. But everybody knows that a man with the intentions of dating wants to have sex. That's in our nature. So why is it a shocker that he's going to hit it if he can hit it? So it's solely her choice on who she's going to give herself to. And it's just a lottery on whether or not she gets pregnant. And then she gets to decide his future from there.
So women have it all.
What is that?
Women have all the answers and the I mean, I don't know what you're saying is all true.
Right, and I feel like you're being negative with me now. You're flipping the script on me.
No, I'm not necessarily being negative, but again, it's biology. I mean, only a woman can carry a baby.
I get that. Yeah, I agree. Of course.
I mean, and I think any man having sex should be able and responsible if she gets pregnant, whether you've had the discussion or not.
I agree 100%. I mean, I'm not advocating for it to be, I don't like hookup culture at all. I think it's repugnant, but my point is it takes two to tango, and if one person has all the rights, then it just feels literally like the man is trapped. Like, especially, this is not even in counting false accusations and paternity fraud and it gets deep. We're halfway.
I was just gonna say.
All right. So any thoughts you want to wrap up on this?
No, I it's a mixture. And I'm learning a lot, and that's why we're here. Yeah. To learn and to broaden our minds.
We're halfway through this. We're definitely learning a lot, and it's exciting so far. I'm enjoying seeing her transition. Her eyes are opening up as we go, so it's interesting to see that. So yeah, and I'm really glad that it was created and narrated from the point of view of a woman.
Correct. That made a big difference to me also.
Yeah, and when I remembered about this, and I said, oh, this was narrated by a woman, so it'll be able to correlate it or relay the message to you a little bit more. But we'll finish this up for the next time. This is a sweet 2-parter here. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, appreciate you. Hit the like and subscribe. Much love, and we'll see you guys all next time. Cheers, all.
Peace.